We'll call the meeting to order. The Access to Information Committee and Privacy and Ethics. Pursuant to Standing Order 1083H7, study of breach of personal information involving Cambridge Analytica and Facebook. This morning we have it broken out into 2 hours. United Kingdom Information Commissioner's Office, Ms. Denham, she's with us via teleconference, and we also have the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner for British Columbia, Mr. McAvoy. So we'll start off with Ms. Denham.
Yes, good morning and hello from Manchester. Thank you, Chair and Committee, for the invitation to appear before you today. I'm the Information Commissioner of the United Kingdom. I regulate data protection and freedom of information, as well as a host of other personal information related legislation. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to speak to you today about the work of my office in investigating the use of personal data for political campaigning purposes. I've watched some of the earlier sessions of your inquiry with great interest, and based on that, I need to set out something clearly at the outset. In the UK and across the EU, information about individuals' political opinions is considered a particularly sensitive category of personal data to which additional safeguards under data protection law are applied. What that means, therefore, is that political parties and campaigns are subject to a combination of data protection, direct marketing, and electoral law when engaging in processing of data for electoral purposes, with oversight by my office and the Electoral Commission. This has always been the case since data protection legislation was first introduced more than 2 decades ago, and it's simply accepted as a cultural norm. These rules are there to ensure free and fair elections, and they do not undermine democratic engagement in the UK. Instead, political parties have to engage with voters in a manner consistent with that law. And recognizing the special place of political parties in a democratic society, they've been given special status under UK data protection law to allow parties to carry out their campaigning activity. In my complaint handling role, I consider complaints from individuals against political parties when they think that their data has been misused. The number of complaints has never been particularly high. Other than a spike at election time, political parties have not, in the main, been a sector generating a high proportion of complaints. And my office has maintained an ongoing dialogue with parties, meeting with them regularly and issuing bespoke guidance on how they can comply with the law when they are campaigning. However, the EU referendum in the UK in June 2016 was an unusual exercise by British norms. Instead of being fought by established political parties, the referendum was led by campaign groups that were in some cases fuzzily constituted coalitions of like-minded bodies. The UK law on data protection is written to take account of political parties, but in a country where few referendums take place, the law has less to say about non-party campaign groups. And this is made considering potential breaches of the law during the referendum campaign more challenging for my office. We were concerned about some of the campaigning practices that we heard about and the provenance of the personal data used by campaign groups to target individuals. And that's why in May of 2017, I announced a formal investigation into the use of data analytics for political purposes. The original goal of the investigation was to pull back the curtain on how personal information was used in modern political campaigns. At its heart, data protection law requires organizations to process data fairly and transparently. But rapid social and technological developments in the use of big data means that there's limited knowledge of or transparency around data processing techniques, including analysis, algorithms, data matching, and profiling to micro-target consumers and voters. I think these techniques are attractive to political parties and campaigns as it enables them to target individual voters with messages in keeping with their political interests and values. But this isn't a new game played by different rules. The law continues to apply whether campaigning is conducted offline or online. My investigation now involves over 30 organizations, including political parties and campaigns, data companies, and social media platforms. And among those organizations is Aggregate IQ, which was used by a number of UK campaign groups, a company that this committee has already heard from. What we didn't expect at the outset of our investigation was to be looking at the what, when, how, why, who of reported 87 million Facebook profiles alleged to be have been mined by an academic, passed on to a UK political consultancy working on the US 2016 election and other political campaigns, plus multiple other lines of inquiry, which I can't talk about at this time. And this naturally raised concerns both in the UK and abroad, and officers of Facebook and Cambridge Analytica have been called to account in various national parliaments. I'm sure you understand that I can't speak about the particulars of an active investigation. The investigation is progressing at pace. Enforcement activity is ongoing, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment further. What I can say, though, is a number of organizations have freely cooperated with our investigation, they've answered our questions, and they've engaged with us. But others have attempted to undermine the inquiry by failing to provide comprehensive answers to our questions, by refusing to cooperate altogether, or challenging the process. And in these situations, we've been forced to use our statutory powers to make formal demands for information. Some of my lines of inquiry are more developed than others, but an update on the entire investigation will be provided in a report issued by my office in the coming weeks. And whilst my colleague, Commissioner Therrien, is conducting his own investigation into Facebook, there are areas of joint interest that cut across both of our investigations. As Commissioner Therrien noted, the ICO and the OPC have a cooperative relationship, and we can share information if it's necessary for our investigative purposes in the public interest. When I think about your committee's work, I can see two distinct lines of inquiry. First, the immediate concern of Facebook, Aggregate IQ, and others, and whether existing laws in Canada have been broken. And then a second, longer-term line of inquiry, a wider consideration of public expectations of the use of their data in the political context and whether the law needs to be changed. This inquiry is rightly looking not just at data protection law, but also other areas such as electoral law to see how these issues can be addressed. And I mentioned my report to be published in the coming weeks. I will be making findings as to whether individuals' rights were infringed, but I'll also be making policy recommendations on how the UK government and others can address the failings that I've uncovered, including greater transparency in political campaigning. And while every jurisdiction is different, there may be some relevant lessons that could be read across into the Canadian context. To put my cards on the table, and I say that against a backdrop of fully recognizing the public interest of political parties being able to communicate with voters. This is, of course, a cornerstone of democratic engagement. I believe that the use of individuals' data by political parties needs to be addressed in Canadian law. Canadians should be able to bring a complaint to an independent regulator. The law that we have in the UK is built on sound foundations and principles and doesn't unnecessarily fetter the democratic process. In UK data protection law, political parties have a legal justification for processing the personal data of individuals when carried out for electoral purposes. And my office is only part of the oversight picture in the UK. The UK's Electoral Commission is responsible for overseeing elections and political spending. Where there is crossover, my office can work with the Electoral Commission or decide which body should take the lead. And this is not to say that everything about the UK's data protection regime is perfect. I've said the system works for political parties, and it largely does. The Brexit referendum was a different beast, as I noted earlier. Non-traditional campaign groups, either unfamiliar or unconcerned with data protection law, may have crossed that line into unlawful activity. And I think the temporary nature of those groups has made pursuing them for the failures of data protection law more challenging. The UK law already equips me with recourse to criminal sanction if a notice from my office goes unanswered. So this means even if a campaign group or an organization winds itself up, I can still have recourse to pursue individual former officers of that group. So this might seem like a lot of powers for one body to hold, but as a regulator, I'm answerable to Parliament, and I must be able to justify how I go about using my regulatory tools. I think the ICO has always been a proportionate and responsible regulator, and never more so than in the context of political campaigning, where we are acutely aware of the inherent public interest in democratic engagement. And this approach will continue under the GDPR and the new UK Data Protection Bill when it's enacted. The manipulation of voters via micro-targeting risks undermining our democratic model. And isn't that a major concern for all of us? Thank you very much, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Denham. We'll move over to Mr. McAvoy. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much to the committee for the invitation to appear this morning, particularly alongside, great pleasure, my colleague, Commissioner Denham from the UK. In fact, it was only a few short weeks ago I was in the UK assisting Commissioner Denham with the investigation to which she made reference. It wasn't long after my return to British Columbia that I was conferring with Commissioner Therrien at the Office of the Privacy Commissioner of Canada, agreeing to jointly conduct an investigation into Facebook and the BC company Aggregate IQ, a company with whom this committee is well familiar. That investigation continues, and of course I'm not at liberty to disclose much about it until our work is complete in that regard. What I would like to do this morning is to pick up on themes referenced by Commissioner Denham that relate to the broad aspects of your committee's mandate. That being the seeking out of legislative remedies that will help assure Canadians about the privacy of their data and the integrity of our democratic and electoral processes. Beyond investigating companies like Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, critical inquiries to be sure, it is also important for Canada's political parties themselves to take some measures for restoring confidence in the democratic processes in our country. I would invite you, as my colleague Commissioner Therrien has, to subject yourselves to accountability measures for the way in which you collect and use the information of Canadian voters. A question worth pondering, I think, is whether the recent Cambridge Analytica scandal would have happened were it not for the increasing demands of political parties to gather and analyze personal data in the hopes of understanding it and using it to persuade voters. Democracy requires the citizenry to have trust and confidence in the political process, and a significant element of that process concerns how political parties collect and use the personal information that belongs to Canadians. Parliament and some provincial legislators created offices that oversee the collection and use of personal information by private and public bodies. Curiously, that oversight, with few exceptions, does not apply to political parties. British Columbia is an exception. BC's Personal Information Protection Act, or PIPA, applies to all organizations in BC. It is substantially similar to PIPEDA, and for that reason, generally supplants PIPEDA's authority in my province. Political parties in my province have been subject to PIPA since its enactment in 2004. In the 14 years that have since passed, I can assure you democracy has continued to thrive unimpeded in British Columbia. We have not heard concerns or suggestions that laws protecting the personal information of voters restricts the ability of political parties or candidates to engage voters. Political parties in BC can and do collect personal information about voters, but they do so under the same reasonable legal responsibilities and obligations that apply to other organizations. Generally, this means political parties get information with the consent of voters, accompanied by a clear explanation of how and for what purpose that information will be used. I said generally with consent because there are legislative provisions that allow parties to collect information without consent, specifically to get the voters list and other voter data from Elections British Columbia. But these provisions come with a condition that the party receiving the information provide a satisfactory privacy policy to the Chief Elections Officer. PIPA also gives citizens the legal right to request and correct personal information political parties collect from them, and to register a complaint if necessary. Complaints adjudicated by my office. A citizen's right to exert control over their personal information is a fundamental principle of privacy law. It is a principle strengthened by the EU's General Data Protection Regulation, which Commissioner Denham has just made reference to, and which comes into effect in Europe in just a few days. You may be interested to know that my office is now undertaking a broad investigation of how the elected parties in our legislature collect and use voters' personal information. Those parties, I would note, have fully cooperated with our office's investigation. I expect that the investigation will result in recommendations and guidance that will help parties improve their privacy practices. Of course, I know that recent proposed amendments to the Canada Elections Act will require political parties to adopt a policy to protect personal information and to provide it to the Chief Electoral Officer. These proposals are only a minimal step forward. They attempt to address the principle of transparency, but that is only one element of a proper data protection regime. The proposed amendments do not require parties to respond to a voter's request for the information a party holds about them, nor does it allow for a voter the right to ask a party to correct inaccurate information about them. Perhaps most important, there is no provision for an impartial third party to hear and determine a voter complaint. These basic legal standards have been a part of British Columbia law for years and are the norm in many Western democracies. There should be nothing for political parties to fear in any of these legal obligations. In fact, implementation will do nothing but enhance the confidence of citizens in their democratic institutions. With that, Mr. Chair, we are happy to take any questions that you may have.
So all are aware in the committee that we're going to have a certain amount of this time to ask you public questions, and we're going to move into camera after the first 5-minute round of questions. So just be prepared for that. So we'll start off, first of all, with Mr. Saini.
Good morning to both of you. Good afternoon, I guess, in England. Thank you very much for joining us. So, Mr. McAvoy, I'll start with you very quickly. The BBC reported that a couple of weeks ago that they tried to visit the offices of AIQ in Victoria. They found the offices pretty desolate with a couple of people that were working there. Has your office tried to or attempted to contact AIQ, either the principals involved or actually visit the offices in any way?
The answer is yes. We are well engaged with Aggregate IQ at this point, and beyond that, I don't want to say much. We are far from complete in our questioning of Aggregate IQ, and I think perhaps I will just leave it at that.
Okay. Ms. Denham, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. The one concerning thing for me right now that's occurring in England is the fact that Cambridge Analytica has declared bankruptcy. The company that has emerged from that is Emerdata. There's another company called Firecrest. it seems that the same actors are now realigning themselves. You tried to get a warrant, and I think you applied for the warrant under Blighty's data protection law. It took 7 days, or they had 7 days to argue against the warrant. So they knew that your office was investigating or would come after them. My question is this: when you talk about a company, whether it be a retail outfit or a manufacturing outfit, if you move the physical assets of that company somewhere else, there's some accountability, because you can see a desk being moved, you can see machinery being moved, you can see product being moved. But you're talking about data now. Data can be moved very quickly. It can be taken to some other place. It can be used in another fashion, because if a company's going to restart itself, it needs product, and their product is data. Do you feel that maybe the situation has come to the point where it might be difficult now tracing where that data actually went, knowing that the companies have realigned themselves in one way or another?
We just to start with the comments on the warrant. I agree with you that the current provisions in our law don't allow us to be able to move quickly with a warrant, and we need to be able to respond to digital crimes and data crimes, and the government has just tabled amendments that are going to give us new powers to be able to react more quickly and not give long notice periods to organizations. That said, we have been able to seize and secure a great deal of data from Cambridge Analytica. We have executed 2 more warrants in this investigation. So we do have a great deal of information. If there are links between one company to another, and if their intellectual property and their data is being used by a new company, then we are able to investigate and continue our investigation. If a company is entering into insolvency, as in this case, then we are in touch with the administrators, and we're able to proceed with enforcement action, both criminal and civil.
Okay. As you're well aware, AIQ was testified before our committee. Since that time, have they become more cooperative with your office?
We have recently received a letter from AIQ that opens the door to better cooperation than we have had. I don't know if that was a result of the testimony and the discussions with your committee, but it remains to be seen, and I think actions will speak louder than words. If we don't receive cooperation, then, as I said to my parliamentary committee in the UK, I will seek other legal steps and actions.
And that leads to my final question, is that in The Guardian, it's been reported that you are exploring legal options to have AIQ become more cooperative. Is there any idea of what kind of steps you may be taking?
I would rather not respond to that in the public domain, but I will say that we're also exploring options in cooperating with our Canadian colleagues in this investigation.
How much time do you have left?
30 seconds.
I just have one quick question.
Sorry.
Our current privacy commissioner has not even close to the same powers that the two of you have. Do you think it's important, especially in the context of the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal, that our privacy commissioner actually have stronger enforcement powers, be it fining powers, leading to criminal sanctions, perhaps, certainly over and above what he's got right now? Both.
If I could start, I would say that the Canadian Privacy Commissioner's powers have fallen behind the rest of the world. So having order-making power, having the ability to levy administrative penalties, civil monetary penalties, but certainly the ability to seize material and to act quickly, I think is really important when we're dealing with global data companies and fast-paced investigations. So even with the powers that I have under the current UK Data Protection Act, they weren't sufficient in this case, and government has moved really quickly and tabled amendments which were passed last night to provide us even more powers of no notice inspection, streamlined warrant, the ability for emergency orders and also criminal sanctions for destruction of records and information. And that's important in the broader context with digital companies and being able to move quickly in the public interest.
Mr. McAvoy, quickly.
Our office has been on record as supporting the use or the Parliament providing greater powers to the Office of the Privacy Commissioner of Canada. It's really from the perspective of citizens. I think we need to think about this, and when we and the matters that you're investigating, I think Canadians want to have some sense that somebody with some regulatory power has their back. And that can't happen unless the regulator has the appropriate authority to ensure that these kinds of things are properly remedied if there is a concern or a transgression of the law.
Denham, next up for 5 minutes, Mr. Gord.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My first question is for Ms. Denham, and if Mr. McCoy wishes to respond, he can certainly do so. You drew our attention to the data crimes, the profiling crimes, and it seems to be a legislative problem in that we take data from Facebook, we make categories of individuals, we use these categories to target advertising and incite people to vote for one party or another. The data we find on Facebook have been used, and the argument is the data was placed on the website voluntarily by Facebook users. So if the people agreed to say whether they're married, whether they have children, whether they have a red or blue car, what's the crime? What's the crime of categorizing people who have blue cars? So how can we say that a crime has been committed with respect to data or profiling if this data was just used to target for advertising purposes?
Yeah, under UK law, and in fact under data protection law across the EU, there has to be a specified purpose for the collection and the use of data. So if, for example, somebody was answering a quiz and thinking that they were sharing that information for one purpose, such as academic research, and if that data was then used for a different purpose, such as political campaigning or profiling an individual as to their categories and their political leaning, then that would be a contravention of UK law. And that is precisely what we're investigating. Just because somebody releases personal information in an application or on a social media site, there needs to be some notification and clear purposes as to what that information is going to be used for. And if not, there's a contravention of law. And again, at the beginning of my remarks, I said when it comes to establishing political opinions or political persuasion, that's a special category of personal information that requires explicit consent to use. And that, again, is a question that's center to our investigation in the UK.
Because you decide to share a certain amount of information with your friends doesn't make it a free-for-all for the world. It is understandable, I think, for an individual using Facebook that expresses an interest in red cars, they might get an advertisement about red cars. What would certainly be beyond the expectation of an individual is that they would be psychologically profiled and identified as a candidate for a particular ad because they were open or neurotic or whatever the classification is. That is something that I think goes well beyond what the expectation of an average citizen would be, and that does fall afoul of privacy law.
Are there any studies that show that this profiling is very effective or efficient? Something that can change the course of history? So perhaps we have a duty to legislate, but perhaps we should be working with the current legislation. This situation didn't exist 10 years ago. Perhaps we did this less methodically beforehand, but with the research browsers that we have now, we can do this type of research. So how do you see the future with respect to this new reality?
When I speak to the political parties, and we've talked to all of the main political parties and the campaigns in the UK, and I think what they're looking for is, although they know that more research can be done and perhaps more specific targeting can be done to reach potential supporters and their existing supporters, it could be that technologies have got a way on us, and the principles of the law, the accountabilities and the transparency are still really important to maintain the trust and confidence of voters. So just because we have new research methods, or just because people are arguing that these are more effective ways to reach potential voters and supporters, doesn't make it right. And I think what we need to do is we need to look at whether there are some red lines here for the kind of backroom, back office data matching and profiling that is possible in today's world. And now's the time to do it, because if we don't get the public policy right now, then we actually risk losing the confidence and trust of people down the road as these techniques become more effective and more freely available. So now's the time. And one of the recommendations, I think, in my report is going to be for a very specific enforceable code of conduct in the use of data analytics in the political context.
Thank you, Mr. Gord. Next up for 5 minutes, Mr. Angus.
Thank you very much for coming today. Madame Denham, we had Mr. Massingham and Mr. Sylvester come before our committee. Did you hear their testimony? Were you able to hear what they provided to us?
Yes, I did.
We were trying to determine the link between SCL and aggregate IQ, and Mr. Massingham has said there was absolutely no link, which seemed contrary to the documents that we had obtained. Do you believe that his testimony was forthcoming?
We have asked some very specific questions of aggregate IQ in the context of our investigation. And as I said earlier to your colleague, and as I've said in public, we're still waiting for comprehensive answers. We're also looking at a lot of material that's been provided to our investigation, witness statements, information from whistleblowers, and documentation before us. And that is one of the questions that our investigation is focused on. So we're hoping to get to the bottom of that.
Thank you. Mr. McAvoy, you seem to be very determined that political parties come under PIPEDA. We as politicians don't tend to talk about our data very much. We're very protective of it. When I was elected, I found out that my main job, is actually, in my riding, we deal with immigration. We deal with people coming to us with bankruptcies. People come to us with medical problems. People come to us with deportation issues, child welfare. We gather an enormous amount of very, very personal information. Nobody trained my office on gathering that. We have a strict code of it. I assume most MPs' offices do. I've dealt with other offices and other parties about certain sensitive cases. It's always been very professional. But we gather that data for dealing with constituents. We always have a separate file or separate data set for elections. But there's nothing to say that those couldn't be mixed up if we don't have certain laws or certain outliers. Do you believe that it would be better to have confidence in the people who come for us for service, to know that we have a very clear, that we are under a federal data law in terms of protection of privacy?
It is important that Canadians understand that their data is being protected properly and appropriately. I would draw something of a distinction. You talked about essentially the work you do for your constituents. In British Columbia, that information would be, for the most part, exempt under Freedom of Information law.
Yes, yes.
What we're talking about here is political party activity and collection of data. Maybe another way of answering your question in thinking about this is, in British Columbia, we have had occasion to investigate instances where the governing party, collecting information, there was allegations that it may have crossed a line, a gray zone, to where that information moved potentially or allegedly from a government collection to party sources. Without our ability to investigate parties, that investigation would have been stopped at that door, which I think would have been not just problematic in terms of our own investigation, but I think in terms of the public understanding, would it truly happen to the information that was collected. Because we have a law which allows us to look at parties, we were able to look at that matter holistically and come to conclusions about what had actually happened to the data. I think that enhanced the public's confidence that data was being handled properly, and where it wasn't, that sanctions were available by our office to bring down.
Yeah, I think it's important, and again, certainly the work that we do in our MP's offices, we treat that data very, very, it's sacred. I always say to my staff, whatever's said in here is like being in the confessional. It can never, ever be put out there. But to have that confidence, people come to us and share very intimate details of their lives, and then 3 weeks later we're calling them on the phones trying to get them to take an election sign, and they have to know that we are not using their personal data to get those election signs, and that's an honor code. But would it be better if we had a very clear legal code, so that in an age where people are losing trust with politicians, they could say that in Canada they can trust that when they come and they share data, it's being, what data they want to share with us politically is being shared, and what data they don't want being shared is not being shared.
So that's an interesting example you raise. So if there was an allegation somehow the data was leaking to the political party as you describe it, the ability of a regulator, I think the public would be, their confidence would be enhanced in the system if they knew that there was some ability to investigate that, to determine whether or not the party had improperly collected information that they shouldn't be. And that power, again, that's for legislators to determine where that oversight power would be in Canada. I know there's some constitutional legal issues with the OPC. I think in British Columbia, there are occasions where my office actually has carriage over certain matters that are not necessarily squarely within our statute, but can be referred to our office for adjudication. So similarly, if there is an appropriate place, an appropriate piece of legislation where privacy, data protection, as it applies to political parties, if there's, perhaps it's not PIPED, I don't know. Again, that's for legislators to determine. But still, you have the Privacy Commissioner of Canada who could adjudicate those matters still, potentially, because he is in a good place. He has the expertise, he has the staff, he has the investigatory capability to look at those kinds of issues.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Angus. Next up, last 5-minute question goes to Mr. Bayless.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Denham, for being here. Obviously, we, as Canadian legislatures and Canadian citizens, we have a concern about AIQ. It starts there for us because we don't want one of our companies, or we don't want people using Canada as a barrier to conduct illegal activities somewhere else. And we've had them in front of our committee, and as you saw, we've come to the conclusion that they were not forthcoming with us. And I could speculate that they might have even purposely been trying to mislead us. They're part of a group of companies. They're part of Cambridge Analytica, SCL. They were at one time called SCL Canada. And there's also, it starts with Alexander Kogan and Global Science Research. This is the person that amassed all this data. Has he broken any of your laws? Have you made any determination on that yet?
We are looking at Dr. Kogan. We are looking at his app. We are looking at the operation of it, his relationship with Cambridge Analytica, and what actually happened on the ground with that app. Dr. Kogan has refused to speak to our investigation, So again, we're proceeding with other options in trying to get a statement from him. But again, we have enforcement tools, we have civil remedies that we can pursue, but it certainly is an important line of inquiry for our investigation in the UK.
I'm not surprised that Dr. Kogan is not cooperating. So let's assume Dr. Kogan has gone and taken this data, and we would call this stealing when you go in through the back door and take something that doesn't belong to you and it's against the rules. So I'm going to say Dr. Kogan has stolen this information. Question becomes, why would Mr. Steve Bannon from the United States go all the way to Europe, to the UK, and engage SCL and help start Cambridge Analytica? Did they have any specific abilities, or was it simply that they had access to this data? Have you spoken to Mr. Bannon? Are you planning to speak to him as part of your investigation?
So again, because of the ongoing nature of this investigation, I can't speak to that line of inquiry, and I don't want to offer a hypothesis as to why the company was set up in this way. But it certainly is a question that parliamentary committees on both sides of the Atlantic are asking, as well as attorneys general and other regulatory bodies.
It does seem to me very interesting because obviously Facebook, Google, and a bunch of these very powerful, capable companies exist and work in the United States, but they felt it necessary to go to the UK when the one place that they show up is the one place that has access to this data, which Mr. Kogan has put together and is refusing to cooperate in how he got it. Now, we come back to Mr. Kogan, who's been financed in the past, in my understanding, by the Russian government and Russian arms of the Russian government. We see the Russian regime under Vladimir Putin interfering in elections. Is it possible that Mr. Bannon went there to test run on the Brexit vote what he was planning to do 6 or 7 months later with the American election? Is this a possibility?
I can say that the focus of our investigation is about the collection, use, and alleged misuse of personal data in the context of Cambridge Analytica, SCL elections, because that's the focus of our investigation, and it's for others to make those connections internationally. But we will get to the bottom of the questions that we have in our specific lines of inquiry under the data protection law in the UK.
You've been very helpful, and we've been coordinating with the UK's investigation as well. Has anybody from the American government contacted yourself or to help coordinate what you're doing and follow along the same lines as we are?
We have been in touch with our American counterparts in this inquiry. I have not been in touch with Congress or with politicians in this inquiry, and that might be a question for Damian Collins and the DCMS committee in the UK.
It seems to me that there have been players in the UK that have coordinated or worked with a hostile foreign power, and I mean that by Mr. Vladimir Putin's regime, to actively undermine your democracy. In the old days, we would call that treason, and these people would be dealt accordingly. Is this something that, if you find these links, that you're going to pass it on to that level?
Under my law, I have the ability to pass information to other authorities, law enforcement authorities, or regulatory authorities, if I deem it to be in the public interest to do so. So just to give you an example, I have passed information to the UK Electoral Commission that I thought was relevant to their inquiries about campaign financing. So I can do that. And if I found other information that would be pertinent to a law enforcement investigation, then I have the ability in my law to be able to share that information.
Thank you, Mr. Bayless.
Thank you, Mr. Den.
Yeah, and just before we move into camera, I just want to thank you for your cooperation from our committee's perspective, and look forward to ongoing cooperation to that effect as well. we are also exploring all legal options, what this committee can pursue if there indeed problems arise from testimony at our committee. But right now, we'll move into camera, so we'll take a few minutes to suspend. For all those in the room, just before you leave, we have Google Canada coming up next and Jim Balsillie as well for the next hour. So we'll move into camera now. Thank you. Back to order. And apologies for the quick changeover and the limited time to get settled, but I want to especially thank our witnesses today, Colin McKay, Head of Public Policy Government Relations for Google Canada, and we've met before, and the Council of Canadian Innovators, Mr. Jim Balsillie. Welcome to our committee today. And we'll start off with Mr. McKay from Google. Go ahead, and due to our limited time, opening statements are 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, thank you for the invitation to appear today. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you again about these important topics. I'd also like to acknowledge that today is a particularly emotional day for Parliament. I had the good luck to spend time with Gord Brown both on and off the Hill, and I know he will be missed. Google works hard to provide choice, transparency, control, and security for our users. And we appreciate the opportunity to tell you about how we protect Canadians and our billions of users around the world. I thought it might be helpful context for this conversation to quickly touch on Google's presence in Canada. For a company that is just 20 years old, we have some deep Canadian roots. 16 years ago, Google selected Canada as the location of its first international office. Since then, we have steadily grown to over 1,000 employees in Canada, with over 600 programmers and AI researchers in Montreal, Waterloo, and Toronto. Our mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And Google services provide real benefits to Canadians. Whether it's search, maps, translate, Gmail, Android, cloud, or our hardware devices, our products help people get answers, organize their information, and stay connected. Our advertising products help Canadian businesses connect with customers around the globe, and our search tools help Canadians find information, answers, and even jobs. Just a few weeks ago, we rolled out new ways for Canadians to find jobs using Google Search. As you may know, Google has invested significantly in Canada's burgeoning artificial intelligence ecosystem, not only through the funding of organizations like Mila in Montreal and Vector in Toronto, but also by establishing research labs that have helped Canada attract and retain world-leading talent. Our engineers work on significant products like Gmail, the Chrome browser, and cloud, products used by billions of people around the world. We have a Canadian team developing safe browsing technology that prevents malware attacks and phishing scams, keeping the open web safe and secure. And this brings me to how Google has long thought about privacy and security. Google has been investing in tools and teams over the past 5 years to provide users with industry-leading transparency, choice, and security regarding their data. We offer tools such as My Account, Security Checkup, Privacy Checkup, Takeout, Google Play Protect, and more, all with the aim of protecting users' data, allowing users to make easy and informed privacy decisions, and affording users the opportunity to easily take their data with them to other platforms. In 2015, we launched My Account. MyAccount.google.com provides Canadian users with quick access to a centralized, easy-to-use tool to help manage their privacy and security. This is used extensively. There were over 2 billion visits globally to this tool in 2017, including tens of millions by Canadians. While we continue to promote the use of this tool, it's clear that awareness is growing and Canadians are using it to make informed choices. Google promotes Privacy Checkup to users on a recurring basis, so we can help our users keep their privacy choices up to date as their use of Google services changes over time. Users can see the types of data Google collects, review what personal information they're sharing, and adjust the types of ads they would like Google to show them. In addition, we have a tool called Security Checkup, which helps users understand what devices and apps are accessing their data. And on our Google licensed Android platforms, we developed Google Play Protect, which monitors devices for potentially malicious apps. We design our products and implement product policies that prioritize user privacy. It's part of our commitment to ensuring our users understand how we use data to improve their experience with Google products and services. It's hard to keep data private if it's not secure, which is part of the reason why we have built such a strong security team at Google. It's also why we have not only focused on the security of Google and our services, but have helped the entire internet industry bolster security through our leadership with projects like Safe Browsing, HTTPS Everywhere, email encryption in transit, and our leadership on promoting two-factor authentication and security keys. We know that our users are people. They are family members, friends, and neighbors. Some are relying on our products to build their company and their nonprofit. Others just need help finding a product, an address, or opening hours. but every one of them is putting their trust in us. And we recognize the enormous value of the trust Canadians put in us. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here today, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, Mr. McKay. Next up for 5 minutes, Mr. Balsillie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I have closely followed your committee because I believe Canadians are facing the most important public policy issue of our time, data governance. Canada's innovators know that data flows have transformed commerce and made data the most valuable asset in today's data-driven economy. Businesses use data to create as well as access new markets and also interact globally with both customers and suppliers. Control over data and network allows dominant firms to hinder competition and extract monopoly rents from their customers and to deceive consumers via their data collection strategies. Vast troves of data are collected and controlled by foreign, unregulated digital infrastructures. This is why the Council of Canadian Innovators called on our governments to design a national data strategy to ensure that cross-border data and information flows serve the interests of Canada's economy. A national data strategy should codify explicit treatment of competition in the data sections of free trade agreements, including the right to competitive access to data flowing through large data platforms that have de facto utility status. If Canada doesn't create adequate data residency, localization, and routing laws that protect Canadians, then our data is subject to foreign laws, making Canada a client state. While the Facebook scandals instigated the recent set of testimonies before this committee, I urge you to arm yourself with facts about the data-driven economy that is completely different than the knowledge-based economy which preceded it and the production-based economy of the 20th century. Intangible commodified data does not function the same way as tangible goods. The data-driven economy gets its value from harvesting, identification, commodification, and then use of data flows. What we have heard from companies like Facebook, including at this committee, is an inaccurate picture of what is happening. The Cambridge Analytica and Facebook scandal is not a privacy breach, nor is it a corporate governance issue. It's not even a trust issue. It's a business model issue based on exploiting current gaps in Canada's data governance laws. Facebook and Google are companies built exclusively on the principle of mass surveillance. Their revenues come from collecting and selling all sorts of personal data, in some instances without a moral conscience. For example, in Australia, Facebook was caught selling access to suicidal and vulnerable children. Surveillance capitalism is the most powerful market force today, which is why the 6 most valuable companies are all data-driven. Their unique dynamics require a made-for-Canada strategic and sovereign policy approach because data and intellectual property are now key determinants of prosperity, well-being, security, and values. Data underpins all aspects of our lives, as you can see from the illustration I gave you as a framework. As an intangible asset, data has critical non-commercial effects. With this in mind, I make the following recommendation. Implement GDPR-like provisions for Canada. GDPR offers valuable lessons and a point of departure for Canada's legislators and regulators. It is a universally acknowledged advance in privacy protection and control of data. European policymakers recognize that whoever controls the data controls who and what interacts with that data today and into the future. This is why they ensured that EU citizens own and control their data. Similarly, Canadians should own and control their data. Canadians need to be formally empowered in this new type of economy because it affects our entire lives. For our democracy, security, and economy, Canadian citizens, not unaccountable multinational tech giants, need to control the data we and our institutions generate. By focusing only on individual privacy, Canadians can find themselves plugging just one of many holes, which is in effect plugging nothing. We need a horizontal lens to legislation and policies. Privacy and digital public and private services aren't opposing forces. For example, Estonia shows that better data governance leads to increased privacy in digital services. Economists consistently show that the data-driven economy is unfolding at speed that outpaces the creation of evidence-based policymaking. So I urge you to work with Canadian innovators and experts who understand open technologies, data sciences, competition, standard setting, strategic regulations, trade agreements, algorithm ethics, IP, and data governance. We need them to help craft detailed policies that are technical in nature. By working with experts, we can advance our country and ensure Canada doesn't miss participating in the data-driven economy like it missed prospering in the knowledge-based economy over the past 20 years. And on a personal level, as a Canadian, I am deeply worried about the effect mass surveillance-driven companies have on both Canadian society and individual Canadians. Personal information has already been used as a potent tool to manipulate individuals, social relationships, and autonomy. Any data collected can be reprocessed and used and analyzed in ways in the future that are unanticipated at the time of collection, and this has major implications for our freedom and democracy. I am concerned that without the design and implementation of a national data strategy, our politicians are moving ahead with initiatives with foreign companies that are in the business of mass surveillance with a proven track record of using data for manipulative purposes. Unfortunately, history offers sobering lessons about societies that practice mass surveillance. It is the role of liberal democratic government to enhance liberty by protecting the private sphere. The private sphere is what makes us free people. There is no individual consent to or opting out of a city or a society that practices mass surveillance, and this is the path Canada is currently on. So in addition to putting in place appropriate economic incentive structures and regulatory frameworks, I also urge you and fellow elected officials to act boldly to preserve our liberal democratic values, to promote the public interest, and to assert our national sovereignty. I thank you for considering my recommendations and the opportunity to present here today.
Okay, thank you, both Colin and Mr. Balsillie, for your testimony. We'll go to Mr. Picard for 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. McKay, Mr. Balsillie. I have a question, but I believe that Mr. Balsillie did refer to Google, so I would ask Mr. McKay to react to some allegations made in Mr. Balsillie's statement.
Mr. Picard. I think Mr. Balsillie has made some very, very constructive recommendations around the need for a data strategy for Canada to enable Canadian businesses and businesses competing in Canada to understand the data they have at hand and to understand the business opportunity that is presented to them capitalizing upon that data. I think that the government certainly has an opportunity to create a nuanced strategy that helps Canada differentiate from the rest of the world in sectors not just tech, but health, where we already have quite a lead in terms of dealing with health information, as well as agriculture and mining and manufacturing. I think that a data strategy does not need to be as restrictive or prescriptive as Mr. Balsillie has suggested, that in fact creating a strategy that tries to box Canada in or tries to create obligations that are not either parallel or similar to those available elsewhere in the world will actually limit the opportunities available to Canadians to innovate both in Canada and internationally. There needs to be consistency and there needs to be predictability in any regulatory framework that's set up. On a final point, I'd just like to underline that despite what Mr. Balsillie said, we do not sell the personal information of our users. We've built a business model that delivers services and products to users that relies on a personal relationship that uses the information they share with us to provide personalized services for them. And that what we do is support that broad array of services that are provided free to Canadians and everyone else in the world through advertising. And it's advertising that's targeted at aggregated groups. It's not advertising that's targeted at individuals, and there's no exchange of personal information between Google and advertisers. It's simply recognizing that there's an economic transaction that needs to happen to provide those services, and advertising is the most common and convenient way to deliver that right now.
C'est exactement là où je veux aller.
And that's where I'd like to ask my question. We're going to go through this exercise for people who are listening to the committee work. I'd like to take an approach in layman's terms, if I could say, so that we can really understand what this all involves. And I'd like to have an answer that focuses on business and not just on the big concepts of philosophy. When someone signs up with Google, he doesn't fill out a specific form. A form to subscribe to Google services? I'm not compelled to fill out a form, a paper form with data in order to use Google. No, you're not. So with the little information that you have about me, my first reaction would say that there's no information that really pertains to me that might cause me any risk, or that's true. There's a level of expertise with respect to an individual person, such as yourself. And if you subscribe to a service, a Google service will provide you with the service, and we assume that you're a person of a certain age who works in Ottawa. And when you use our service, we can see signals. Let's say you're looking for the results of something in particular. And during the course of this transaction, we make observations, things that you prefer, things that you often look for. So going back to that, the fact that I prefer one type of book over another, that I go to certain sports sites or whatever, that doesn't matter. Is that not a personal preference that becomes private information? And without me knowing it, someone will be looking at my behavior and decide, and by making this decision, and if I understand correctly, you go to the private sector, let's say people who buy advertising, because it's nice to provide free services, but it doesn't pay for groceries at the end of the month.
We don't provide a service that allows advertisers to target individuals. What we do say is we have identified users that search for results for hockey games and may search for results for hockey games by this particular team or in this particular province.
Donc, vous faites le service d'identifier l'individu parce que
you're providing this service because you have the information.
All we say is you would like to deliver an advertising campaign towards people who have these qualities. We will deliver that advertising campaign. They do not know who's seeing the ads. They don't get information about who's seen the ads. They have an idea of the number of people, the attributes of the people that have seen the ads.
But you do know.
We do that.
No, you do that, but you do know who used that because you have the IP address, you have the person related to this IP address, although you have to prove that the person who keyed in the information on the keyboard has to be the same one registered on the IP, but still there's no computer contacting any sites. Someone does. So therefore you have in hand the missing link of personal information with any third-party interest.
And if you had an interest in understanding how we've used that information and how we provide services to you, I mentioned My Account. If you go to My Account, you can see a listing of those attributes and those qualities that we've associated with you. So in terms of understanding what information we've exchanged in the course of our relationship, we make that clear in My Account. And it's not in our interest to engage in any sort of transaction with a third party that exchanges that information. The exchange we have is that in the course of providing that information to you, we may learn more about your need to find parking near a hockey game because of your preference to go to hockey games. We will therefore, in maps, tell you where the nearest available parking is.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Picard. Next up for 7 minutes, Mr. Gord.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is for Mr. McKay. On Tuesday, Google announced that AI would be used on the telephone, meaning that the current Google system could make an appointment with the make an interview with a hairdresser and put it in my network without me doing it. But what worries me about that, if you're capable of doing that for getting data and sending it to a third party and putting this information in my agenda, this robot could ask questions to you could ask 100,000 households questions. Do you like the color blue? You could ask 8 or 9 other questions, and then you can analyze all kinds of things. So we're going into the far west of data. Things are progressing so quickly, and for companies like Facebook and Google, you get so much information about people, and then after that, there's this vacuum. You could do anything because you do have the information. You have all the data, and people will have given this information to you, and they will consent to do this. Will these instruments in strategy, in Google strategies, where no, it's your goal is to provide services to the people, but how are you going to make this data safe? And that can you use this type of robot to get data that you're going to resell to other people?
To your last observation, which is we don't resell information. So that is not in consideration. Speaking about the specific project Duplex that was discussed at our developer conference this week, that's a project. It hasn't rolled out into implementation. And it's an attempt to explore how, in the course of providing you with a service, which is, at the moment, you can speak to your phone and ask for the phone number for a restaurant, and then dial the restaurant and try to schedule an appointment. We're trying to explore how we can use artificial intelligence to get through the entire transaction of making a reservation for you. That project Duplex is very limited in scope. I think there were 3 or 4 examples that were provided during the conference. Those are the 3 or 4 examples that it could conduct. It's meant to provide a service to the individual. It's not meant to collect information. It's meant to be supplementary to the relationship we have with a Google user in terms of what information they're looking for in search, how they're trying to slot information into their calendar, and how they're trying to identify places to eat on Google Maps. In terms of your question about broader surveys, that's not even under consideration right now. This survey, broad-based surveys that drive voter interest or user interest are not something we conduct at the moment. So that wouldn't be an implementation of this tool. I have to underline that this is using artificial intelligence in a way to conduct mundane tasks that provide a benefit to the user, provide time to them, and make that interaction as efficient as possible while providing a clear-cut service for the user.
Monsieur Basili.
Mr. Basili, given all of the data that's collected by these big companies that have direct or indirect access to our private lives, for example, somebody will know what restaurants I go to, and a year later, Google will know that I go to Saint-Hubert once every 2 weeks. And this multiplies. You're going to find to know where my preferred garage is, what car I drive. They're going to have a wide range of data that can be used. But I gave this information voluntarily in making a selection of the restaurant. So if the information is given voluntarily, if I give my personal phone number to my friends, I give them the number because I want them to call me. And get in front of a legal challenge, well, the big corporations are going to say, well, look, the information has been given voluntarily. Look at all these photos that I have with the red-haired people. You can't do anything about that. What do you say to that?
Your question. The first thing, if I may, as I go into this, is you have to understand that enormous amounts of data is collected without transparency, without you voluntarily knowing. What they've discovered with GDPR is these media platforms, these social media platforms, have literally millions of pages on you without you knowing it, including all the routing of where you personally moved throughout the year. And many other things, different data sets are brought together or hashed, as they say. So don't think there is an enormous sets of data that you haven't consented to being given. So my main response to that is, I'm encouraged by the questions you're asking because it shows me that you're not prepared to be tricked by platitudes like informed consent or anonymization or transparency or nuance. Those are trick words. Be very careful when people say they don't resell information, because do you exploit information? And so understand that enormous amounts of data is collected without you knowing. Have you heard of Sidewalk Labs? How are you able to opt out of all of that information they collect on you? There was a recent story how Facebook was working with hospitals, anonymizing your data for your health care, but were able to cross-reference that through AI to your personal social media and extract to know who you are. So be very careful with these claims of informed consent and voluntariness in a surveillance state. As was said earlier, this is going much faster than we understand it, and we are cascading towards a surveillance state. And as you see by the framework I give you, it touches all aspects of our sovereign citizenship, well beyond the economy.
Reste-t-il possible dans
Would it be possible in the future to have a private life, to have privacy, given all the data that's being collected on us? Will privacy even exist in 5 or 10 years?
It can, if we have responsible rules and regulations in society. So this is what Europe has had almost 10 years of debate and discussion on. And they have come to a nuanced position. There's nothing extreme about GDPR in Europe. That is the nuanced solution, that they figured out how they can be an open, innovative society as well as protect individual privacy and transparency and benefit of their citizens. It is absolutely resolvable, but it takes responsible, expert, technical regulation, which is exactly what Europe spent 9 years undertaking.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Next up for 7 minutes, Mr. Angus.
Very much. Mr. McKay, it's good to have you here, Mr. Basili. Mr. McKay, you talk about deep Canadian roots. You certainly have deep Canadian roots. In my region, you compete against all our local newspapers for online advertising. Would you consider deepening your roots by paying the HST so we have a level playing field?
I'll answer that in 2 stages. Number one, we provide ad technology services to newspapers, and we provide revenue.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
No,
Tell
but
me
no,
you're
but
gonna-
I
are you
just
interested in
but I just
paying
want
the
to
tax?
differentiate because your study is predicated on one company's behavior, and I just want to differentiate that we provide services to newspapers that allows them to increase opportunities to gain revenue from their online viewers. Your second question about GST, yes. If the government takes the steps to make GST applicable to a company in our situation and other online businesses, then we will take the steps like we do in every other country to collect it from our users who purchase things from us.
Is the minister moving in that direction, Minister Jolie?
I don't think it would be Minister Jolie, would it? It would be Minister Morneau, but that's up to the government to make that decision.
Right. Because this is a question that up till now there's been talk about, because you're not paying the HST, but then you also aren't being covered under Article 19 of the Tax Act, which if you're not paying HST as a Canadian company, then why should people get a tax deduction for giving advertising? And Google's called questions about paying tax on these issues of advertising punitive. So are you saying now it's not punitive, it would be fair?
Number one, we do pay tax on certain of our sales, like hardware and other elements of our sales in Canada.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So
that's not what I'm asking.
But all I'm simply saying to you is, if the government makes moves to implement legislation that requires us and other online companies to collect HST on behalf of the government, then we will take the steps to comply with that.
Okay. I noticed in the UK, In 2014, Google's tax was less than $7,000, which is about the average that the UK worker pays, and yet you paid out $534 million in bonuses. So your level playing field around the world works pretty good for you. But I want to get into this question about Google's philosophy. I was a big Google believer. When you guys started out, I was like, this is really awesome. And I met Google in New York, and I love that philosophy, don't be evil. But your founder also said that Google's policy is to get right up to the creepy line and not cross it. I guess my question is can we trust you to decide what's okay creepy, what's not what's too creepy, and what's downright evil when you're facing a class action lawsuit for illegal data collection for using the loophole on the iPhone? You've been accused of tracking citizens in real time without their consent. You're facing charges in multiple states. And now there's a complaint about collecting personal information on children under 13, including location, device identifiers, phone numbers, and their use across different websites without their parental consent. So rather than trusting you to decide what's creepy, shouldn't we just have legislation?
That's why I had a list of tools that we've developed that are available to users in my opening remarks. Because you're right, there needs to be transparency around what we're collecting and clarity around why we're collecting it and what benefit it has to the user. And that is, over the years, we've learned from our mistakes. We've learned from incidents such as the ones you've cited.
They're not mistakes. I mean, these are class action lawsuits. These are charges, right? Like, it's sort of the question of you guys get caught and then you learn lessons. This is the same thing we're having from Facebook. But if the public policy is to go right up to the creepy line, that doesn't give me much comfort.
The public policy is not to reach a space that is uncomfortable for our users. The policy we have in product development is to develop leading edge products that provide the greatest range of benefits for our users. And there's different rates of adoption and different levels of comfort with adoption.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Basili, I'm really interested in this discussion on surveillance capitalism. I was someone deeply against regulation of Google and that because I wanted to see them develop. Imagine that, me, a socialist, and here's your entrepreneur warning us about surveillance capitalism. We are living in an upside-down world. What concerns me is that we see Google in Canada. They have their former policy director in the Minister of Heritage's office. In the United States, Google's patent director is now in the patent office. And there's serious questions about the undermining of patent law in the United States by Google because of their enormous power. The Bank of Canada has warned about the power of companies like Google to undermine competitiveness. We see in the tech sector, patent lawyer Michael Shore has said that the U.S. is turning into a, quote, banana republic because legislators are rewriting the law to protect the interests of giants like Google, and the U.S. has dropped from 1st to 12th in global patent strength ratings over the last 4 years. For Canada's tech sector, given the very close, comfy, cozy relationship between Google and this present government, where do you see us taking our tech sector in terms of innovation and also building a credible relationship with Canadian consumers on issues of privacy?
Well, thank you for your question. My greatest concern is that I know that these partnerships were undertaken without an economic analysis domestically. So quite frankly, we don't know. I know as an entrepreneur that they've got deeply negative spillover effects to our innovation outputs. And if you see this year, Canada slid behind Poland in innovation performance. Wow. So we're 22nd in the world and Poland's 21. So, and once you're out of the top 20, you're not really considered a credible innovation nation. So, and I would tie our performance directly to the fact that we have not created sovereign innovation, positive spillover approaches. So to answer your question, I think we rush into these things, and I am directly aware that they are done with no economic analysis, involving no experts on their spillovers. And I can't imagine a business would ever do a partnership with ever a business case analysis. So I think the first thing we need to do is actually start analyzing the innovation effects of these varying partnerships or relationships, and use proper economics, not lobbynomics. The second thing is that competition law and privacy law, as I mentioned in Estonia, and as well the EU is doing some very active competition strategies work very nicely to the benefits of innovation and the economy and citizenship. They can all work positively together if we approach them understanding their true nature.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Angus. Just was talking with Jean Denis. I'm going to try and push the meeting as close as we can to the 11th hour. There's another meeting here at 11, so I'm going to push it right up to 7 minutes before. So without further ado, Mr. Erskine-Smith for 7.
Thanks very much. Mr. Balsillie, you had indicated in your opening remarks you sort of categorized Facebook and Google together amongst other big data companies. And obviously Facebook and Cambridge Analytica prompted this study, and it was pretty clear to me that sharing the amount of information with third-party app developers the way Facebook had been doing was contrary to our law. And in fact, they were before us and said they didn't particularly agree with that assertion, but they did say it was certainly not appropriate, and they've changed their practices. So, Mr. Balsillie, you've put Google and Facebook in the same sentence there. Are there particular practices that Google's undertaking right now that you would point to and say those practices should be changed, and here's why?
I think there are many practices that should be changed. One, you have to look at the ethics of the algorithms and how that impacts and persuades people's behavior. You had comments about advertising, and there's been considerable discussion about how algorithms promote certain kinds of divisive viewing on things like YouTube, because the algorithms are designed to get you to watch more, and they find that they nudge you more to extremes the more you watch. So I think we have to properly regulate these things. I think we need proper standards for them. I think you've learned that companies respond after they get caught, and that shows the fact that you need proper and responsible regulation. And it's not the same, but it rhymes, in that we heard a lot of these issues in California when they started to legislate for emissions on cars, and everybody said, oh, that's the end of the automotive industry, you can't innovate, it's not going to be profitable. Well, we've got better cars, we got better emissions, we got record profits from the automotive companies. These things, properly implemented, can all positively reinforce one another. And so I think there's a very positive society and capitalism way forward here.
So, Mr. McKay, I've got my Google Ads settings open. There are 59 things I apparently like. Some are correct. I don't particularly like running and walking. I do like action films. So, having said that, though, these 59 things aren't why I'm getting targeted necessarily. So, you've got where I've been with my phone for the last 12 months, from what I understand. I'd be interested to know to what extent you're scraping words from my Hangouts and my emails. You've got everything I've searched for on Google. You're tracking every website that I visit on Chrome and what I bookmark and beyond that. So it's not these 59 things that I'm getting targeted for advertising. Why don't I see more? Why isn't there more transparency than these 59 things?
If you dig into that tool, you'll see your location history.
Yeah.
And your location history is something that you explicitly signed into when you were setting up your phone. And you have the ability to go into your phone and both turn off the location history as a whole for
no,
all
I
the services.
understand that, because I did say to you, I understood that it was you knew where I was in the last 12 months. My question is about the transparency of advertising. That if I receive an ad, I'm not able to look under the hood to say what has specifically been used to get this ad to my screen right now as a consumer. Why not?
If you're looking at specific parts of our advertising network, there is in fact a little reverse D that you could press on, and it will tell you why you saw that ad in our display network.
Okay, but so Facebook used to have this, and I think has this now, and they're going to have to get better at this, and perhaps you will too, because the explanation oftentimes is because you've liked similar things on the internet.
Yeah.
That can't possibly be the level of transparency that's acceptable. So how detailed is your transparency?
Well, you've just described it right there. You just called it up while we were talking, and you have 59 items, some of which are wrong. I have to tell you that for quite a few years after I joined Google, they thought I was a woman.
Items, right? It's not just those 59 items. It's it can't possibly be those 59 items. So it's everything I've searched on Google. It's my browser history. So it's not just these 59 things. But I can't, when I see an ad, track everything, every reason that I've been targeted. That it's because I actually searched this website. It's because I searched this on May 1st. That I don't see. Correct?
You and I are speaking to a similar goal. which is, you're right, you should have the ability to understand how you're exchanging information with us and how we're using it to deliver services. We try to do that in this suite that we've developed, whether it's through My Account or through Privacy Checkup. Clearly, you're identifying a situation where you're not getting all the information that helps you feel
Yeah, because
comfortable.
my worry is, we had Rob Sherman before us and say, yeah, we didn't do what we should have done at the time. And, 3 years from now, are you going to be sitting across from me and saying, yeah, we shouldn't have done what we should have done at the time? And so, you really have to, we have to probably regulate, but, you right now have to think about, if you actually agree in transparency, you probably have to be more transparent than you are. When it comes to emails and Hangouts, so if I send an email saying, sorry for your loss, and I hope to attend your funeral, or I say congratulations on having a baby. Are the people I'm sending information to, are they going to start getting ads about funeral services and advertising a stroller?
If they're using our products, no. We don't serve ads based on the content of your email or your Hangouts. All we do is we do search that content to make sure that you're not seeing malware, or you're experiencing a phishing attempt or some sort of breach of your personal security. We run automated systems to ensure the security of your account. But we're not serving ads based on the content of your Gmail in that particular specific way. So, and especially in the two contexts you just described.
So tell me what different way you are targeting ads based on my email and Hangouts history.
Well, in Hangouts, you wouldn't be getting ads.
Okay.
In Gmail, you get generalized ads based on the broad understanding of who we understand you as a user.
Oh, sure,
It's
but it's
not based on the content of the
my-
inbox or the mail. No.
Okay. The last question I want, third-party apps. So we had app developers on the Facebook platform that were receiving troves of information that were completely unrelated and well beyond the scope of what they needed to deliver the app. Walk me through your third-party app sharing, and what information do you share with third-party apps?
Sure. We don't share any information with third-party apps.
Well, no,
other
they
than-
do get access with basic account information,
Yeah,
so that's
basic account information. So they get
Okay, well, let's
email
start there.
address,
So what's in
name,
my basic account information?
email address, name. There's a third element, but it's not sensitive. So it's those two pieces. And then you have to engage with the third-party app developer to agree to provide additional
So there's no
information.
third-party app that would receive anything beyond basic account information?
There's no third-party app developer that, without engaging with you in a specific conversation about consent to grant access to other information, in some circumstances by you providing the information to the app developer.
But that's up front, right? So that's like,
Yep.
okay, so I might not know what I'm agreeing to, because the total information is not particularly disclosed to the average consumer to say, I'm agreeing to X, Y, Z, and a whole bunch of information is going to get out the door. So,
So when you're installing an app on a licensed Android phone, you're given a specific menu that is required to have a link to a comprehensive and clear privacy policy. So you understand their attitude towards privacy and security. Then it specifically identifies those elements of information that are either held or generated by the phone or by your account that they're requesting access to. And you have to be able, this is on an app on Google Play for an Android phone, you have to be able to link through and see in greater detail why they want that information.
do you think that's
Thank you,
all
Mr.
under-
Smith. I'd love to give you more time. Next up for 5 minutes, Mr. McCullough.
Fascinating information here, and thank you, Mr. Erskine-Smith. Mr. Basili, you talked about the EU's GDPR. Is there anything that you would change of that for Canada adopting something similar?
Based on the core principles, no. The aspects that I'm zoning in on are, one, that you have personal ownership of your data and personal control over it, that you have awareness of what they're doing, and you have what's called the right to delete and the right for portability. I think the second thing, which we haven't had much discussion on, which is a very central part of GDPR, and this was a tremendous tug-of-war between Brussels and Washington over many, many years, was this element of safe harbor and routing. That it is important to understand that no matter what we regulate in Canada, something akin, I've been told by experts, to between 80 and 90% of our data routes through the U.S. before, even if I sent you an email across this table, it's routing outside. It's called a boomerang effect. And you have to understand that per U.S. law, Canadian data has no rights whatsoever in the United States. So you have no right to privacy, you have no right to anything. So what the EU also did is they managed the routing so that it never left the jurisdiction of what they prescribed as appropriate treatment of that data. So I think the GDPR is nuanced. It was the subject of many years of debates from many perspectives, and I think that using GDPR-like approaches is a minimum we should take in Canada, and then look at other forms of activities like the economic development opportunities for primary industries that Mr. McKay talked about, and many other aspects that we could extend beyond that. It's also very important to remember, though it's not the purview of this committee, that in parallel the EU did a sustained set of studies and plans on competition behavior for what's called the inherent asymmetry of data, where the big get bigger. And so if you want to promote economic advancement and prosperity, you also have to look at the competitive structures of that. So competition and GDPR dance in harmony through pretty much a decade of work.
That's kind of my follow-up question. You talked about, the value of data, and my question was going to be, how do we monetize it in Canada but protect privacy? But I want to more move over to what is the role of the monsters of Facebook and Google in Canada under the system where we want to monetize the value for Canadians and not just the big getting bigger?
Well, I don't see them as monsters. I just see them as capitalists. They're
Giants,
capitalists. And the job of a corporation is to do what a corporation is supposed to do. So, and the job of government is to regulate. So it is a complex issue, because this is the biggest force in the history of capitalism, where 6 companies come from nowhere to be the most valuable companies in the world in a very short period of time. So how they're managed in terms of competitive structures and regulated, and how we do it for the benefit of Canada's economy and Canadian innovators is very important. And so things like competition behavior, and also data ownership, and also must be woven in a national data strategy that looks at our prosperity and many other things that go along with it, like employment rules, like cyber rules. So this is a big file, and we need to urgently address it in a horizontal way as a nation, as policymakers.
We, as government, are not the fastest acting. If we were to approach a GDPR, could be years from now. Things are moving so fast. What should we be kind of looking for to adjust as we go, so we're not introducing a GDPR for yesterday's rules?
Well, I think you've
yesterday's reality.
I think we have to reflect on the fact that we're 9 years into this in the Europe, and we're getting at it now. So that wasn't necessary for this country. So I think we have to reflect on being up to date and involving experts. I think you've had excellent testimony from folks like Commissioner Therrien on updating our privacy rules. I think you've had the Competition Bureau come in and talk about updated competition practices. So there has been a fair bit of work, but I would encourage the policy that our legislators to actually embrace this and say 2018 is the year of regulating and legislating the data surveillance capitalism and the data-driven economy for the benefits of Canadians and Canadian citizens for now and the long term.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. McCauley. Next up for 5 minutes, Mr. Bayless.
GDPR rules, and I agree with Mr. Balsillie, would you say these are the leading rules in the world right now that we should be looking to?
They set the standard, yes.
They set the standard.
Yes.
Mr. McKay, when the GDPR rules came into place, Facebook purposely moved a lot of their data from Ireland outside the jurisdiction of the GDPR rules. Has Google taken any such actions?
No.
You must now have to look at complying with these GDPR rules. What actions are you taking to comply with them if you've not taken actions to move away from them?
We've been investing in the teams and improving our tools to comply with GDPR for a very long time. It's a tremendously complex challenge even for a company of our size, and it's an even greater challenge not just for smaller companies but for the privacy commissioners in Europe themselves. One what we're doing is reflected in the tools I mentioned in my opening remarks. It's reflected in the sort of permissions and control that individual users have across all of our services around the world. So you are seeing the echoes of the obligations of GDPR and the expectations around data protection in Europe through the services that are provided by Google to users around the world.
So users around the world are going to benefit from the GDPR. You're not going to have a two-tiered system?
Users around the world are benefiting from a greater focus on trust, transparency, and individual control. And
sure.
that's the central baseline in the GDPR as well as other data protection regimes.
Yeah, but no, let's be specific. Mr. Balsillie tells us that's the best in class right now, these rules. You're working very hard to adhere to those rules. You haven't moved data as Facebook has to avoid those rules. Those rules are going to be done. We've programmed for Europe. Is everybody else in the world going to benefit from those rules? Or do we have to do, as Mr. Balsillie suggests, put our own rules and go back to Google and say, now you better adhere to these Canadian version of GDPR?
I think if you're looking at what is the best in class, raises the most votes standard for data protection obligations, the GDPR is setting that right now. And it is driving change both at our company and at other companies. But equally, it's presenting a real challenge to companies that don't have sophisticated internal IT systems or a clear understanding of what data they hold and what responsibility they have to their users, especially companies that try to export or import from Europe or have a relationship with customers in Europe. So what we're going to see over the next 6 months and more is companies struggling to understand what their obligations are under GDPR.
If they're not as big as you, they're probably just going to have to adhere to them and say everything we do adheres to GDPR.
No, the challenge for them is actually...
Is Google going to do that? Is
Yeah.
Google basically going to make sure that if someone's transacting in Japan or talking from Canada to Japan or whatever, that the rules that you've put in place to meet GDPR are going to protect all those other activities that are not actually touching Europe or being routed through Europe?
They're going to see follow-on improvements and greater transparency control as a result of our compliance with GDPR.
Will they get the same? I'm sure they'll get better, but will they get the same as GDPR? Or are you going to purposely tritate, like say this one's going to be getting GDPR, this one's not?
We're not going to make explicit choices like that. What we do, as has come up in the conversation, is there's data protection and privacy legislation that varies country to country. So we need to meet the obligations in each country. And what we're going to see, users are going to see, is that the entirety of the controls and tools available to them are improving as a result of both of our investment, but the obligations are GDPR.
Have there actually been any data breaches in similar from Google databases compared to what's happened with Facebook?
Not that we're aware of.
Okay. You've said that you don't sell the data, and I would agree with you. Why sell it? You own it. It's totally valuable. You just rent it out and let people ask you for it. That's your model. Is that correct?
We own the data that we have about you, and we use to sell ads.
The reason someone stole the data from Facebook is because they say, "Why would I give you this data? I'm going to use it and sell the ads even to these bad actors. I'll use it. Why would I give it away?" So someone had to go in there and fake it and steal it. Has anybody tried that? Is that happening to Google?
Not that we've seen. So.
Thank you, Mr. Bayless.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're just right at the edge here. I just have thanks to everybody. Yes.
Mr. Chair, just because we were slightly condensed in this round because of the last round, and our two witnesses provide us an enormous amount of information, I'm wondering if it's possible that we could send them questions, because we did get questions like Smart City we didn't get to, the questions of moderating of Google Maps, some of the questions on innovation. I'm just wondering if it would be possible through the chair to follow up with questions that we can get back so that we can make sure that we did all our due diligence.
Are you okay with answering those questions when they come?
I assume they'll be routed through the committee?
Yeah, and I just have one question for Mr. Balsillie, and sorry, time is definitely up. You mentioned the term surveillance capitalism, and I guess the whole reason why we're here today was started off of a potential voter fraud somewhere across the water in another country. If we don't change our laws in Canada to deal with surveillance capitalism, is our democracy at risk?
Without a doubt.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for appearing today, and we're adjourned.